Would I let my mom move in with me? No.
Would I let my mom move in with me?
No. We having that question now. Me and my mom is my trigger. Like, I can't do nothing if I didn't clean something up, or I ain't listening to the right sermon on my phone.
Like off the strength, or just because, or because she get up in age, or what?
I love you, Mom. No. Not a chance. Mama.
Once she start getting older and she needs somewhere to go, if it's up to me, she going to a home, a nice one. I'll come visit. My mom's not staying with me. Love you, but no.
Well, I'll let my mom move in with me, and then I'll get another house. But you know what I'm saying? I have like a side house.
I mean, I wouldn't say no. I'll just say that if it had to come to that,
No, I'm telling you right now, Mom, you can't stay with me. Pick another one. You got 5 other more.
I wouldn't say no. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
This video has been going viral on TikTok for a few different reasons, I think. First off, I don't know if y'all remember who this is, but you just had to be there. I believe it was Vine. Like, this is way before TikTok. 2 of the brothers here, specifically this one and this one right here, they used to do content together. That's where a lot of us millennials know them from. Now, that could be one reason. Also, they're all brothers, allegedly. Now, what's also interesting about this is none of them seem like they want their mother to move in with them, which something that we talk about here on this channel quite frequently. The fact that a lot of children may not be okay with that. There is this idea for a lot of parents, unfortunately, that this is an automatic thing, and the more children you have, of course, there's a more likely chance at least one of your children would want you to move in with them or be okay with that. But what I found interesting about this is none of these brothers sound like they would actually let their mother move in with them. One of them even goes as far as to say, hey, she gonna go to a home, which I think this speaks to the dynamic of what happens in real life with a lot of people. And I do want to point out, no one sounds like they absolutely dislike their mother. They're like, one of them said, hey, she's my trigger. If somebody is your trigger, and some of the triggers, or the first triggers a lot of people have, is their parents. We have to be honest about that, and also consider we don't know why they're saying what they're saying. A lot of people were raised in interesting family dynamics with their parents. In their adult life, when the idea of reintroducing them back into their life, in their living situation, that might not be something that they're okay with. And we don't know why. But before all of the parents jump in my comments, oh, the shame, they should be ashamed. How dare they not want to take care of their mother? I would at least say, let's consider, we don't know the family dynamics. And that does matter. It does. And it could just be that they want to have their own privacy. It could be anything. But I think this is going viral on social media for many different reasons. And I found it also interesting that they're all men. They're all men. Not that that should change anything, but there is an idea that when you have daughters, the daughters will be the one to step up. But what I also find interesting about the dynamics between sons and daughters a lot of the times is a lot of the parents, and I can't speak for everybody or every situation, but what I have seen is a lot of mothers sometimes treat their sons like they can't do no wrong. And I gotta say the quiet part out loud. A lot of mothers act like their sons can't do no wrong. And what will end up happening is that same son, a lot of the time, will look and say, no, get your daughter to do it. I'm not doing that. Which I also find interesting, because we have to point out something here on this specific video and why I'm saying this. At the top, it says, I wish we had sisters. Why? What? Now, this could all be jokes because they are comedians, but I'm not sure if they're joking about this one. I'm not sure, can't confirm nor deny, but I do find it interesting that in real life, this is what I hear, and this is what it says here on the caption. They wish they had sisters. Well, at least one of them is saying that. As if that's supposed to, like, it's almost like people are like, you know, the women are going to put up with anything. They'll put up with any, but men, they'll have the boundaries. They'll be like, no, I'm not going to do it. You're not going to stress me out. I'm not going to allow you to come into my house with the BS. Like, but my sister, she'll deal with it. And why is it that society even seems like they're okay with this idea? I got questions. Y'all tell me down below and tell me what y'all think about this one. I need to go into the comments because this is so interesting. Now, the first one says something that I was just saying might be a possibility. There is a reason they are saying no. All caps on the no. I can't confirm nor deny. The second comment with the most traction says, everybody saying this is why you have a daughter. As a daughter, the answer is still no. What's interesting is that the daughter said find somebody else to do it. You better go back to your favorite child. Go back over there. Now, I'm not saying that their mother has those dynamics at them. I'm saying if there was a daughter, the dynamics and the conversation might shift a little bit. Like, I would have loved to see if they had a sister, what she would have said. Just for the plot, because I think because daughters are raised to be nurturing, like you're given a baby doll, but like when you're 5 and you're taught to like care for the little baby doll, and you know what, that baby doll is just practice. It's just practice. It might be practice for your kids, but it could be practice for your parents. Y'all ain't catching the play, and you think, oh, it's just a little cute doll. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being nurturing, because it's in many of our natures to be nurturing. But do you see how that same nurturing characteristic ends up being like used against you in such a way that you might not even know it's going to be used against you in? Your brothers might be plotting on you, and you didn't even know it. You didn't even know it. And all of the daughters, sons, I need to know down below. I need y'all to comment. Are you letting your mother move in with you, or would you let your mother move in with you if she needed it? Now, this is going to be interesting. I am kind of nervous to see what the sentiments are, but this is so interesting. Now, here is what I was saying. The daughters are sounding off, and I'm glad. I'm glad y'all are saying the quiet part out loud, because it's been too many women that I've talked to that have this same experience. It says, mothers will worship their sons and mistreat their daughters, but the daughters will be the ones taking care of their mothers in the end, while the king tossed them to the back burner. Allegedly, can't confirm nor deny. Can't confirm nor deny. Others saying, shoot, my mother is the trigger, hit home. They're saying allegedly their moms triggered them too. And then they said allegedly, this is for the parents, the moms watching and updating those beneficiaries right now. Allegedly, this is them. This is them. Now, because this topic went so viral online, I thought it was only right to see some of the viral reactions on TikTok, and this is one of them. So let's see. Does she agree?
So I'm watching this video where these men are being asked if they would allow their mothers to move in with them, and every single one of them said no, and they listed the reasons why. They named the different versions of toxicity that they couldn't deal with for long term, that they love their mothers, that they would want the best for them, that they would do everything absolutely possible to make sure that they are okay. However, living with them is simply not a solution. And why? Because they would make their lives miserable just because that is the track record that they've had. That is who they've decided to be. And it's unfortunate because when you go to the comments, instead of, I don't know, sanity, it was a whole bunch of women saying, see, ladies, this is exactly why you should be selfish. You should be thinking of yourself and taking care of yourself and not worrying about having kids. This is exactly why. This is why you should have a daughter. Well, where are the daughters? The daughters don't want them either. The daughter-in-laws don't want them either. The husbands left because they ain't want to deal with them. And instead of you having to own any accountability and say, hey, Mary Jo, maybe your attitude, your funky little attitude is what is keeping people from wanting to be around you for long periods of time. Perhaps not being the worst person in the room will get you liked by many, and they'll want to have you around. There was a time when grandmas were sweet. Grandmas looked out for you. Grandmas were who we defended. Now, we got to get away from these ladies because they are the worst. They bring you down for sport. They don't do anything that's not selfishly motivated.
My grandma used to bake cakes. Cookies, cakes, mac and cheese, collard greens, butter beans with the ham hock. Okay, I will say this. That was a different time. That was a different time. I can't confirm nor deny what the grandmas are allegedly doing or not doing in current day society, but I will say this. They be working now. They be like, I got a job. I ain't got time to be watching my grandkids. We used to, as millennials, spend time with the grandparents. The grandparents nowadays, they like, I ain't no babysitter. I ain't got time for that. You had them kids. I did my time. Like, they acted like it was a jail sentence. They like, I did my time. I raised my kids, and you want me to raise your kids. And what's interesting about that to me, just to be honest, and this is an observation, a lot of the Gen X parents that a lot of us millennials had help. They had a village. Many of them did. A lot of people I knew personally were raised by their grandparents. They were raised by their granddad. Nowadays, you'd be hard pressed to hear that. Not saying that that should be the case, because if you're going to bring children into this world, they should be your responsibility. But that level of stepping up in that village, I'm not seeing that no more. What I see is everybody needs to work. So now the people who have children, they don't get that same level of help. Many other generations even were getting help from their grandparents. So they had their mom and their grandma helping them with their children. And then fast forward to now, everybody's just, hey, you're on your own. It's very individualized. So I also think that being that the children end up living their lives and they might be at the age where they have their own children, you throw in one of the parents moving in, that can be a lot. That can be a lot. And I also want to say many of the grandmas and granddads from yesteryear, they didn't mind helping. It was almost like they loved it. Like they loved being around the grandkids. Now these new grandparents, they be like, ooh, get these kids away from me. It's a different time. It really is a different time. There are definitely still grandparents out there that have that warm, loving, old school type of feel, like they want to be present. But I don't know, y'all. It's dwindling down, to say the least. Y'all tell me, do y'all see the same thing, or am I off?
And they are absolutely never, ever wrong. That is who the new grandmas are. And y'all act like you don't see it, but you deal with it, because when you work with her or when you have to deal with her in any capacity, you don't like her toxic behind either, but you want to blame the sons. Oh, it's the sons who should be dealing with her regardless of how she treats people. That's not how adulthood works.
Now, these comments here are interesting as well. The first one says, my mother will start a fight in an empty room. Sheesh. What in the world? This one here says, my parents drove 12 hours to surprise me after I went no contact. I didn't even open the door. What is going on? Anyway, it's a lot. Others saying kids are not parents' retirement plans. That might need its own dedicated video. I've been saying it. And there are people who are, in my opinion, just not living in reality. You cannot birth a person into this earth and think that you can control what they do. You don't even know if your children are going to act right in public, if you can be able to keep them off the counter, leaning all over the stuff in the store, all on the furniture. You don't know if little Jimmy is going to be unruly. You have no control over that. All you can do is be the best parent you can be, but you can't control, like, people think you can control your kids. Some parents even instill certain techniques, to say the least, to try to control their kids, and it still don't work. It still don't work, because some of the kids don't care. When they get older, they're gonna be like, I'm not gonna talk to you anymore. As you can see, there are children going no contact with their parents. So imagine you thought that, hey, this child is going to be able to take care of me when I get older, and I don't have to think about anything as far as my future, and I'm just going to move in with them. And a lot of the parents don't say nothing. They just, that's the plan. They're not going to tell you you're the plan, but you're the plan. You're the plan. And they're going to treat you however they're going to treat you. And then when they get older, they might expect to move into your home. And you'll be sitting there like, what? You want to move in with me? And then it was like, yeah, I'm getting old, I need help. And it wasn't even a thought in your head, but you were a thought in their head. Long ago, you were the thought in their head. You was the plan. And honestly, that's very uncomfortable for a lot of children to find out, because they have whatever is going on in their life, whatever dreams or ambitions they're trying to do. There's nothing wrong with that. But then it's like a wrench thrown in your plans, and now you have to recalibrate everything. You have to think about, what am I going to do? Am I going to do anything? Am I going to help? Am I going to possibly have to figure out some other options so, the parents can be okay? It's an additional thing that a lot of people don't even see coming until it's here. It's just like right in front of you, and then you're scrambling. And some people do, and I want to be sure to articulate this correctly. There are people who do want to take care of their parents, and they simply cannot do it because the cost of living is too high. Elderly care also extremely expensive, and I think more parents need to look into these things, especially if they're not healthy. If they have not been taking care of their health, and you are in fact the plan, and they have been mistreating their bodies or not doing the things that the doctor telling you to eat better, do this, do a walk, and you not doing absolutely nothing, and you think you just gonna move in with the kids, that might not be an option for you. That might not be an option depending on physically how you've been upkeeping the body. There's a lot of factors that go into stuff, because when people talk about, oh, moving in with the children, they think about it like, oh, I can just move in. Like you're a little small toddler that's fine walking around with no issues. And that's not the case for a lot of elderly people. You might be fragile, you might be frail, and that's understandable. There's no shame in getting old. That's a blessing. But what I'm saying is, when a lot of elderly people do not consider their health and how their health might affect others, that can be a problem. You might not even be able to be taken care of by your children. Physically, if you got a bad back and your child got a bad back, how they gonna help you up? Who gonna get who off the ground? You got a bad hip, they got a bad knee, and they gotta go to work, and they might have children, and a dog, and debt, and bills, and stress, and also probably might not even have any resources given to them by their own parent who is expecting them to take care of them, so everything has to come from them. There is a lot to think about with this, and I think as a family, people have to be serious. I don't know why it is that people don't like talking about this stage in life, like it's not going to happen if you get older, but I just think it's the responsible thing to do. Have that conversation with your children. The children shouldn't have to be coming up to you asking you if they're the plan when you know they're the plan. Like, you know it. You know you don't have anything put aside, and you're gonna surprise them when they're 35 with a 6-year-old. Like, come on, the 6-year-old can't watch you. It's got to be talked about, to say the least, because every family's dynamic is so unique. But this is a serious conversation, y'all. Very serious. Now, I wanted to hear another person's perspective on this, and he's responding to the whole, would you let your mother move in with you? Now, I wanted to see someone else's perspective that wasn't one of the brothers or a woman. So let's see.
So I just watched a video that Emmanuel Hudson, and I assume his brothers, or maybe that's just like they have a podcast or something. And the question was, would you let your mother move in with you, right? And something that I'm seeing, especially with like black men, is that a lot of black dudes, if they were raised by a single mom, they really didn't get along with her. And when I used to hear that, I used to be like, yo, no, it's just terrible, right? Because I've told y'all this before. I had such a good mom. I have such a good mom that when I first started dealing with women, I thought women were all good. Oh my God. Nobody talks about that dynamic. Like, if you had a good mom, you saw all women as like these princesses, these queens who could do no wrong, and it was up to you to do right all the time. It's jarring when you hit the real world with real girls and real women. You be like, why? You can't even understand why the women are acting the way they act. If your mom was good and loved you and treated you right and respected you and all that, you can't even understand. And so I genuinely used to think like, just terrible. They want to be in their mama house, talking back, doing this, that, and the third. But the more you listen, the more you start to understand, like, a lot of people were raised by mentally unstable mothers. And I don't want this conversation to turn into no, oh, where was the father? An absent father create these. I'm talking about the person that was there. I'm talking about what these boys always say they go through. My parents will always be able to move in with me. What? Even if I'm talking about they old as hell and need a caretaker, I can get a mother and father-in-law suite, or whatever they call a little suite on the side of the crib.
Now, what's interesting is he said he can get a mother and father-in-law suite, whatever that thing is, where it's like they're right outside of the house, like pretty much attached to the main structure of the house, but they're not like walking around in their drawers past you, like, but they're close enough for you to go outside or go around the back and go check up on them, which I think is a great option for a lot of people. But here's the problem. A lot of people can't afford that. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. If the children are in fact set up to do that and they do want to do that, that's great. But now financially, you gotta provide that. And we're not even talking about making sure that physically they can get around that suite by themselves, because a lot of the elderly may not be able to. You might need 24-hour care if you're actually moving in with your child. I say this to encourage people. Do the very best you can to keep your health in check. Do the best you can. I'm not talking about, oh, it hurts, I'm sore, I don't like to do it. You need to be in the gym lifting a weight as you get older. Muscle is so underrated and not talked about enough. And when we're talking about things like financial wealth and all of these other things and financial literacy, I also think health is wealth. What does it mean to have all of these resources and all these things set up for your future if you cannot use them? And it will be even worse if it is in fact because of the lack of self-care. A lot of problems people have may be preventable. I understand that there are life circumstances and things that people cannot control. There are things that absolutely happen that are out of people's control, but do the things that you can control. That will, for one, better your chances of being able to be mobile, and two, help your children out if you are in fact needing that care. The more things that you do to make it worse for your children, the more you might have to figure something else out if the children were in fact the plan and they are okay with you coming there. I say this in a loving way. We as people have to do better about keeping our bodies functioning as healthy as we can. It's really not a game when you get older. When I see people working out in the gym that are 60 something years old, I go talk to them. You know what they tell me? You know, I gotta move my muscles. Like they're doing what they can. If they're gonna do a little walk or a little stroll on the treadmill, they're gonna do it. They're in there, they might be lifting 5 pounds, but they lifting them 5 pounds and they're moving. And you ask them how old are they, be like, I'm 80. What? They be like, yeah, if you don't use your muscles, you can't live on your own like me. I know a man who was like 80 something. He's walking around the gym. He broke a hip. Not because he fell. He was in a car accident. He broke his hip and was scooting around in the scooter, still lifting weights with his arms. He said, I'm doing something. I'm not sitting. And I said, sir, why are you in here? He said, I gotta keep moving. If you sit down, you give up the ghost. Essentially, you give up the ghost and you ain't gonna be here no more. And he said, I can't sit down. And I said, when did you get in this accident? That man told me, about 2 weeks ago, the doctor said I need to sit, but I'm not listening to him. What does he know? And I said, you know what? The old folks be on to some. The old folks in the gym is who y'all need to talk to. The ones who are grayed out and they ripped in the gym, that's who y'all need to be getting life advice from, because they doing something right. And so when you see stuff like that, as somebody who's in like your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, you start looking at people like that like, I had to get it together. I ain't got no excuse. I really don't. I might be a little lackadaisical, and we all get like that. But overall, just try to do the best you can to keep your health up, y'all. It's so important.
Oh, y'all, come on, y'all ain't going to nursing home. We'll get somebody assisted living and somebody to come in and take care of you if I'm busy. But nah, it's time. Like, if you have good parents, once they reach a certain age, it's time for you to wipe like they wipe. Yeah, get that out there. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I know that's crazy. Like, especially like I've seen people take care of their parents and they're essentially like a hospice worker, like until their parents. Yeah, that's wild. Like, nobody wants to even think about that. But all them boys were saying, except for one, I think, all of them said no. All of them said no. And it's just like, how bad did your mom have to be for you to go? One of the dudes said, my mom is going to a nursing home. With his whole chest. He was like, a nice one, I'll put her in a nice one, but that's where she going. Yo, they not all lying. They're not all lying on their mom.
These are the type of honest conversations that I think should be happening. Do they happen? It's kind of like finances, where it's so uncomfortable, people don't want to talk about it because, oh my gosh, I have to get my head out the sand about something that's serious that affects my life day to day. Yeah, something that affects my future. Absolutely. I have to have a plan. Absolutely. I have to start making better decisions today in order to have a better future. Absolutely. Yeah, you have to think about these things. Now, here's the interesting comment. Somebody is talking about their mother. They said, she kicked me out when I was 17. I was homeless for 6 months. She owns 4 houses, by the way. Now, I want to quickly talk about that. The people who force their children out at a very young age, that, in my humble opinion, respectfully, can't confirm or deny what will happen, but I think those are the parents that might have it a bit harder to plead their case to the same children that they might have put out. And I'm saying this because I think a lot of parents forget that if your child was in fact your plan because you didn't have one, okay, that's your prerogative. But you have to think about how you treated that child, especially doing things like kicking them out at a time that is so critical and crucial. I believe, in my opinion, first off, anything under 18, like that's already a given. But even 18 to maybe even, I'd say 21 or 22, it's hard out here for children. It was hard back in the day, and it's hard now. And financially, to not consider all of the components like rent, insurance, car notes, because they might not have any credit because maybe they hadn't had anyone to teach them about these sort of things or help them build their credit. Because do you know, as a parent, you can do these things for your children before they're 18. You can put them as an authorized user on your credit card. If you are a person who's financially responsible that has good credit, you can do these things. And so when your child is jumping off the porch at 18, you're not like, you got to get it off the mud like I did. And then they're coming out the gate with a 500 credit score or no credit because nobody even mention anything like that, and they're trying to get pre-approved for a car. They're not going to get approved. They're going to get a high interest rate. But guess who knows that? You know that. They don't know anything about this. And you have what? 20, 30, 40 years of financial literacy on your child. Help them out. But if you want to have them jump off the porch with not 2 nickels to rub together, and then look at that same child when you get broken down, frail, fragile, busted and disgusted, allegedly can't confirm nor deny, and say, can I move in with you? That might not go well. I'm just painting the picture so y'all can really get it, so it can hit home. You can't mistreat somebody at one of their hardest, most vulnerable points in their life, and then look at them when they've become either a success or maybe just starting to get a little traction, a little bit of momentum and doing better, and say, now here's my time to come back in. Make it make sense, y'all. I'm just saying the things that I know is happening to people, and some of these kids going straight no contact. The kids didn't forget. They didn't forget. And I think a lot of the parents want to catch amnesia. They're like, I didn't do that. Or don't want to admit some of the things that they may have done to either trigger their children or not trigger their children. But here's my point. If you're going to rely on that same child, think about it. You should treat people with kindness and respect regardless. And I understand kids can do crazy stuff. I once was a child that did crazy stuff. I get it. I really do. But as the adult, I truly believe you must consider what you are setting up your child for and how that can affect them, because it might end up not just affecting them, it might end up affecting you. It might affect you if they were the plan. And I do want to end it on this note. This comment here says, my mom is easily the most annoying person I have in my life. That being said, I do practically anything to protect her and care for her. And not because I have to, but because I want to. That's how love is supposed to work. And I couldn't agree with this more. Some of the parents, y'all ain't did right by your kids. I'm not saying that the brothers in the beginning were done bad by their mother. She might be an awesome person. I am saying, I know for a fact some of the parents didn't do right. But nobody is perfect. Not even the kids. The kids ain't even perfect. Like, we're not perfect people either. But I do love to hear that some people can still put all of that aside and just be a good person because they're a good person. Just because some people may not have been the best to you doesn't mean that you can't be the change. Now, I'm not saying you can't have boundaries or you have to accept any of this sort of stuff or that you need to let your parents move in. I'm saying be kind. And remember, we're all imperfect. We really are. But I need to know what y'all think about all this down below. Would y'all let your mother move in with you? I need everybody to sound off because I'm kind of excited to see, but nervous. But we got to start making better decisions today in order to have a better future.